Endless. That's a word you're likely to hear thrown around a lot at the SCP Foundation, like SCP-3008, known as the Infinite IKEA, Endless, or take the life of the tragically immortal Dr. Bright, who became one with SCP-963 and now is condemned to existing within it on some level forever, Endless. Or most pertinent of all for today's video, take SCP-087, a terrifying staircase full of tangible darkness and a frightening and unknowable entity. No matter how far down you go, it seems as though there's just another flight waiting for you. Endless. But really, is anything ever really endless? Or is endless just the word we use for something when we haven't found that sought-after end just yet? For those who travel far enough, there may be a limit to the Infinite IKEA. Someday Dr. Bright's medallion one day might lay inert and lifeless, with no traces of his consciousness left. And for those who ventured down far enough, able to clench their teeth and get past the fear, you may someday find that even SCP-087 has a final flight. But what if this isn't just a hypothetical? What if this has already happened, but the truth was considered too dangerous or too horrifying to share? What's really at the bottom of SCP-087? Today we hope to find out. Let's just also hope that knowing doesn't end up being more of a burden than we'd expected. Before we head to the bottom of the endless staircase though, we must first return to SCP-087's file and refresh our memories on some of the crucial basics. After all, it's been quite some time since our last video on the subject. This Euclid-class anomaly is one of the most well-known and feared, partially thanks to classified information being leaked via a certain video game, probably coded by the Serpent's Hand. As we alluded to earlier, many know 087 as the Endless Staircase, based in an administrative building of a classified North American university campus. It's been behind a number of mysterious deaths and disappearances, and has left many of its escaping victims traumatized and in a state of permanent catatonia. Having to descend the staircase is just that terrifying. Equally infamous as the staircase itself are the 3 tests that the Foundation conducted into the staircase before deciding to just board up the door forever. In the first, a D-class that was once a member of the Foundation was forced to see just how many flights he could descend. Not long after first entering the staircase and beginning to make his way down, he heard the desperate and distressed pleas of a child. He kept descending but found he seemed to be getting no closer to the source of the distress. When he was deep enough, that's when he encountered SCP-087-1, a frightening, uncanny face with few discernible features. The sheer terror of encountering this entity was enough to send him running back to the top. The second test played out similarly, with a D-class being sent in with a number of powerful, sticky-backed lights that he was ordered to place against the walls as he descended. This was done in hopes of increasing visibility on the staircase. However, it proved to be unsuccessful, as the darkness in 087 is more of a tangible presence than the mere absence of light. It was able to smother out visibility regardless of a light's source of power. Once again, the D-class heard the crying and encountered the face, causing him to flee. And the third and penultimate test involved a D-class who got really unlucky. She traversed the staircase deeper than any of her predecessors, before eventually encountering the horrifying face of SCP-087-1. However, rather than running up and away from the entity, in a state of sheer panic, the D-class instead ran downwards, deeper and deeper into the staircase. The audio cut as the face continued in its pursuit, and the D-class was never seen again. Did you notice that we said penultimate and not final before that last one? That's because there's actually a highly classified 4th expedition into the SCP-087 staircase, but as you can see on the original file, the data is expunged. What could have happened in that study that led the Foundation to wipe it from the records? Did they discover the great secret behind SCP-087? A secret too horrible for mortal minds to bear? We're not just going to give you one answer today, we're going to give you 3. That's right. 3 different interpretations of the secret 4th expedition into SCP-087. Which is the real one? Well, you'll just have to see. After all, nothing is simple when it comes to SCP-087. Though our first potential option is the most simple of the 3. In this iteration of the experiment, a male D-Class murderer was instructed to descend the staircase into the heart of SCP-087, with the Foundation hoping to find out what happened to D-9884, the female D-Class who disappeared at the conclusion of the third expedition. In a sense, this new D-Class would discover the fate that most likely befell D-9884, but through first-hand experience rather than distant observation. Being directed by Dr. Erdio over walkie-talkie, the male D-Class slowly got deeper into the anomaly, flight by flight. Predictably, he began to hear the intensely distressed crying of a small child around 200 meters below him, and immediately felt a sense of paranoia and dread wash over his mind. Despite this, Dr. Erdio ordered him to keep going, descending deeper and deeper into the bowels of SCP-087. Over time, the sheer psychological exhaustion of SCP-087 was beginning to take its toll on the D-Class, leading him to taking a brief break in order to nap. However, he awoke with a violent start, seeing the horrific face of SCP-087-1 staring down at him. It felt like all his worst nightmares had come to life. In order to escape the monster, he began to flee further down into SCP-087. Much like D-9884 before him, it would be the last mistake he ever made. When he finally reached the very bottom of the 087 staircases, the D-Class realized he was trapped. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Suddenly, the face of SCP-087-1 was hovering over him, boring its gaze into him. As the D-Class directed his powerful flashlight at the creature, he saw that this time it was more than just a face. The entity had a whole body, 7 or 8 feet long, with that same ghostly white and death-like appearance. It reached out with huge clawed hands and grasped the D-Class. Before the audio and video feed cut out entirely, the last thing the attending researchers heard was the screaming from the hapless D-Class and the crunch of his bones within the creature's huge hands. But of course, that's just one of 3 possible insane discoveries at the very bottom of SCP-087. Let's turn our attention to the next one, and see if its answer to the SCP-087 riddle seems to satisfy all of our burning questions. Much like the previous iteration, a single male D-Class was sent into the clutches of SCP-087 in hopes of getting some answers on what happened to D-9884. Of course, he was given all the standard equipment, from a 75-watt flashlight to a defensive weapon to a healthy supply of water and nutrition bars, none of which would save him in the end. Like all the others, this D-Class descended down those accursed stairs, getting deeper and deeper. When he reached a certain point on the way down, he heard something, but not the crying of a child like all the others had reported. It was an adult woman's scream. Specifically, it was the scream of D-9884, exactly as the Foundation researchers had heard it over the audio feed in her last moments before disappearing. This was progress. The researchers instructed this male D-Class to go deeper, passing flight after flight until finally the SCP-087-1 face appeared. But again, something was different. Something was wrong. Now it looked more like the face of D-9884, just without her mouth and pupils. Had SCP-087-1 been stealing the faces of its prior victims? Had the previous face been stolen from a student who'd gone missing from the campus? These were all questions the male D-Class didn't have time to ponder, as he was too busy running for dear life. But he didn't get far. Despite having no history of such medical problems, the male D-Class suddenly experienced a seizure while attempting to escape, and collapsed. The last thing his video feed picked up before losing transmission was a pair of long, white arms emerging from the dark, crushing him inside of its huge hands, before dragging his enfolded corpse into the darkness. That's another chilling potential account of the possible 4th expedition into SCP-087, but we can't stop now. We still have one more tale of terror to share before this video is done. In the next and final iteration, 2 D-Classes, 1 male and 1 female, were sent down together in hopes of discovering what had happened to D-9884. And by the end, they would have their answer, but they certainly wouldn't like it. As the 2 of them descended, they saw the marks on the wall where the adhesive lights from Expedition 2 had been somehow torn off. But the deeper they descended, the more disturbing the things they found became. They discovered words clawed into the stone walls, each one revealing a piece of a more frightening puzzle the deeper down SCP-087 they traversed. They descended further, sustaining minor injuries from a foul-smelling and caustic substance left on some of the walls and floors around them. At some point along the journey, a light was dropped, and in the brief seconds of darkness, the female D-Class disappeared. The male D-Class was ordered to go deeper and deeper into the staircase until he finally began to hear the crying of a little girl. When he reached the 666th floor, he found a wooden door with the word home scratched into it. He steeled himself and entered the room, but it wasn't a room at all. It was a field, shrouded in darkness with a distant tree. A little girl, the one who had been crying, was finally actually here. She told the D-Class that she'd always been here, and that her father had been trying to find her a body so she could go upstairs. But for that to happen, she'd have to be properly birthed first. That's when the male D-Class noticed the two huge stone slabs just beyond the darkness. On one was the corpse of D-9884, hanged by her wrists with thick metal chains. Her abdomen had been fully cut open, as though a brutal C-section had been performed on her. And on the other stone was the female D-Class who'd been accompanying him this whole time, strung up but still very much alive, seemingly the next potential vessel for the little girl's rebirth. But this didn't mean that the male D-Class would be left out of the fun either. After all, the little girl's father would need a new body too, if he wanted to accompany his daughter upstairs. The father in question being SCP-087-1, which appeared in the room moments later and swooped in towards the male D-Class. What followed was a battery of nightmarish sounds as the darkness expanded and consumed the field once more. Not long after this, the Foundation sealed off the entrance to SCP-087 forever, now knowing that it potentially contained multiple hostile entities intent on escaping into our world and causing further damage. Students in the area reported a number of frantic knocks coming from the door for a brief period after that, until the Foundation finally had it properly soundproofed, and the issues were seemingly over with, for now. So there you have it. 3 potential terrifying secrets at the bottom of SCP-087. Which do you think is the most likely? Let us know down in the comments. After all, when it comes to SCP-087, it seems you can always delve just a little bit deeper. Now go check out SCP-3008 Trapped in IKEA and SCP-049 The Plague Doctor Captured for more classic SCPs from SCP Explained.